Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to create our joints for the next part of this. So you'll notice that as we drew this, notice how the joint stayed dead center all the way up to this point. But then right as we come out of this twisty part, notice how it is offset by, it's a good couple of units at least that it's over here. And so what we got to do is we got to create a new joint chain that's more centered over here. That's going to go from here down to this twist. So we'll have a twisty joint here that goes down to the base of the hand. So we'll go ahead and have the hand twist right here, and we'll have a joint end right here, and then we're going to have the two fingers. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my side view. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and look at it from this angle. So what I need is a joint that goes from here to here. So I'm going to go ahead and draw it from the side view like normal. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create my joint. So skeleton, create joints. And I'm going to go ahead and create a joint here, the center of this guy. And then I'm going to go ahead and draw that joint out to where this twist happens. So we'll have a twist here. So this is where the twist is going to occur. And then I'm going to go ahead and come out to the end here and get it right about here. All right, so just kind of keep it in the middle. I'm going to get it out somewhere about in the middle of this hand, somewhere right around here. All right. So I'm going to have a look here. That's pretty close, kind of pretty close to the center. All right. So now I'm gonna go ahead and hit enter here. So this is gonna be you can call it like the forearm, like your wrist. So you have like, this is where your elbow is at, and it goes out to where your wrist is at, where it's twisting, but it's actually gonna twist here. So you can kind of think of it as your little part of your arm here, where you twist your wrist and it twists around the center point. So it's kind of sort of like that. All right. So now if I go back to my 3D view, what you're going to notice is this joint chain is not centered. It is out in the middle. So this is one of these situations where I can grab the bottom joint, which I already have a hold of, and I can go ahead and translate this guy to the right, and I can get it centered. So I can go ahead and move this guy over, and I'll look at it from the, say, the top view. All right. And we'll get more into this in a little bit. What we're going to do is we're going to get this centered up here. And what this is going to allow us to do is I can actually have joint chains parent to each other without creating an extra joint in the middle that screws up the orientation and things like that. So this is what's known as a broken hierarchy, meaning I can have the hierarchy like offset and not be anywhere near where the end of this guy is and still rotate with it, but not actually have to have the connection that would reorient these joints to point at each other. Okay, so I'm going to have that here. I may do it with a hand. I haven't decided yet. I might not. You can go either way with those, but it's a little bit trickier whenever you get into this little section here, and we'll talk about that in a bit. All right, so now I have these joints out here that are now centered down the center of this guy. So I have this joint that'll rotate this way. And then I have this joint that's going to allow me to rotate around the x-axis. All right, it's going to allow that hand to turn. All right, and I'm z'ing back each time. If you guys didn't realize that, each time I do a rotation, I put it back so it's pointed back the way it should be. Another thing I want to make a note of here that I didn't whenever I was showing joint orientation, and that is the translation. Remember I was telling you that the joint will have translations on it at the root? You'll notice this one doesn't have any, and that's because I created the root joint at the origin, because the center of the actual base of the robot is at the origin. So it doesn't actually have any, but you'll notice as I progress, each joint only translates an X. Translates an X. Even though it's going up and wide, in the world of the joint, it actually is going in X down the chain. You'll notice now when I jump to this guy, it's still just going in X, and each one should only go in X. So when you select all of your joints, all of the joints should only have translate X on them, except for the root. The root won't have a translate X. It'll have other stuff. And how can I show that? And that is with the broken hierarchy. Whenever I select this guy, it is not part of this chain. Notice I have X, Y, and Z. I have rotations on all these guys. And actually, I may have accidentally rotated that just a little bit. I can go 0. I think I forgot to Z this guy. Oh, that was my translate. I do need that. Never mind. I was thinking rotation. Sorry. So I translated it in X, Y, and Z. So the world position of this joint is 45 degrees in X. So it's, 45 units in X, 25 units up in Y, and it translated into negative Z by almost 2 units, negative 1.7. All right. And that put it in that position. I want to leave those translates there. They should be there. Obviously, I don't want to zero them. If I zero them, if I go in here and I say zero that out, well, now my root joint just went all the way down here to the origin. So I'll undo that and put it back where it was. All right. So you always want to leave those translates there. Notice, though, whenever I go to the next joint, it's just to translate X. All right. And the last one, just to translate X. All right. It is just not oriented to point at anything at the end. All right. Not yet, anyway. All right. So, I guess right now what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and do the hand real quick. All right. So it's going to be the same thing. So now we're going to get into a little bit of parenting. All right. Before I do that, let me go ahead and backtrack and fix a couple things. And that is the fact that I created all these joints and I didn't name a single one of them. Look over here. I have joint 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Which joint is which? If you ever open up a rig and it looks like this, somebody didn't do their job. All right. So let's go ahead and start naming our joints so that we know what they are. All right. So first thing I'm going to do is go down here to the bottom, and I'm going to select this guy, and I will just call this arm base because this is the base. This isn't going to move, so I'm naming it what it is. So I'll call it arm underscore base. All right. And arm base and hit enter. All right. That's going to name the arm. I can hit the down arrow to go to the next joint. And this one I will call arm base twist. So this will be where the base can twist from. All right. Go down one more. Now this one doesn't actually do anything other than hold. So what I'm going to call this is arm base, and we'll call it arm base mid. So I'll do an underscore mid. All right. So it's just a midpoint joint that really doesn't do anything. And then I'll go to the next joint, which is this guy. So now this one is getting into more of the actual arm. It's going to be actually moving around up and down. So I'll just call this guy arm lower root. All right. All right. So this is the arm lower. So this is the lower part of the arm. So that way I know where it's at. So this is lower. This will be lower. This will be upper, like upper twist, and then this will be like forearm out here. All right. I may even call this elbow. Actually, you know what this is? This is more of an elbow, so I'm just going to call that elbow. So I'll go to the next joint, which is that one. So I'll call it arm, elbow, and then I'll go to the next one, and I'll call this arm, and this will be, I'll call this the mid twist. So arm, mid, and I won't put an underscore in there. So arm, mid twist, right here. And this one I will just do arm end. All right, because this is the end of the main part of the arm here. And I have this twisty things, and then I have the broken hierarchy that's going to go to the next one. So for the next one, I'll go ahead and grab this joint, which is this guy. You can also just select them here if you want. You can do it that way. Hit Q, get rid of the thing, so I don't accidentally rotate anything. So for this one, I can call this one like forearm root, or I can do it arm upper, and yeah, we'll just call it that arm upper root. And the next joint here is the twist joint. So I'll do arm, upper, twist. And I'll go to this joint. And this one I'm not gonna call end because I'm not quite done with that one yet. So I'm gonna call this arm end, or arm, upper, wrist. All right, so this will be the wrist. All right. So now what I want to do is I want to do this little claw. So let me go ahead and hop back to this view here. And so I need to go ahead and draw this claw out. So I only need one joint. This is one solid piece. So I just need a joint to rotate this, but I'll draw two joints, and one's going to be the rotate. So what I'll do is I'm going to go back to my joint tool, and I'll just click and hold, and I'll just put it somewhere where the rotation should happen, which would be somewhere right about here. All right. I'm going to put another joint right out here at the end. All right. And this gives me a little rotation to kind of give me an idea of like where I can rotate this guy. I'm just going to hit enter. All right. And I'm going to draw another one. I'll create another joint. I'm going to do the same thing on the opposite side. So I'll create a joint right about here. I'll just go right out to the end. Bang. All right. All right. So let me name these guys real quick. So this joint here will be, we'll call it claw top. So I'll do claw top root. Hit down arrow, takes me to the next one. If you want to see it, just hold shift and click the plus sign. I'll call this one claw top end. All right, this will be the end joint. So when I grab this guy, it's my claw top root and end. Same thing for the bottom one. Claw bottom root and claw bottom end. Oops, let me cap. I like to kind of keep all my naming kind of like with the right case here. I may even come back up here and put an underscore here. As a matter of fact, I will. I'll put underscores in here. Technically, it doesn't matter. Again, it depends on your pipeline. This way, visually, it's all kind of the same. All right, cool. So now I have my claw top, claw bottom. Now, this is currently broken, but it doesn't need to be because they are all together here. So now what I can do is I can now take this and actually, you can have a joint that branches out in two different directions. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this claw top root, and then I have my arm upper wrist, which is right here. So there's these two joints. Now, I have two options. One is I can take this and middle mouse drag it and drop it right on the upper wrist. So I can go ahead and do this. But watch what happens when I do. All right. Notice that a new joint gets created between the two. Also, my end joint doesn't reallocate itself. It doesn't change itself. It stays exactly the way it was. It won't rotate because I am now just directly parenting one joint to the next. Also, this joint does not turn to point at the other joint. So I have this option if I wish. Okay. Another option I have is what's known as creating pads. All right. Pads are a way, and I will be using a pad for the upper root. I am going to pad that. And what pads do is they allow you to add the joints without it creating a bone in between. All right. So let me show you that real quick. So let me undo this real quick. And I go back to not having it parented. The way you do this is you take this claw, and what you want is you want to go ahead and group it twice. Group. All right. And so what happens is I get a group made, and my problem that I'm going to have is it creates the group down here. All right. So I want my group to actually have its pivot point to be on the joint. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off polygons, and I'm going to hold down D, and I'm going to vert snap to this joint right here. All right. So now this group contains those joints, and its pivot point is right in the center of this guy. And so I can go ahead and name this group. And what I do is I call it claw top pad 1. Oops, got the W. And claw top pad 2. All right. And what happens is when you pad this, now I can now take this top claw, middle mouse drag it to the wrist and drop it. And notice that it is now parented. Oops. Forget which app I'm in. But because the pads exist, it doesn't actually create the joint there. All right. And it is parented. If I go up here and grab my root, notice it's all part of the same chain. Whenever I select this root, oh, there they all are. They're all there. But because I have the pad, it doesn't create a joint. Now, in this particular instance, I don't have to pad it. So I can actually undo everything I just did and take those pads out. Go all the way back. There we go. And I can just go ahead and directly drop it. It's not going to hurt anything in this particular instance. I can do the same thing with the bottom. Drag it right to the upper wrist. So now I have this upper wrist that has both claws on it. All right. So that joint, which goes here. Show my polygons again. Bang. All right. I do have an issue though. I forgot to move my joints over. So let me undo this real quick, because I did all that parenting. I did forget to move my 2 joints over. So I'm going to grab these 2 guys, and I'm going to go to my top view, turn off my polygons. I'm going to grab this guy. I'm going to vert snap by this, and it's going to snap them directly in line. If you don't know what I did there, I have both these selected. I don't know if you guys knew you could do this. So with bones, you can select. I can select both separate chains. And from my top view, I need these joints to be perfectly in line with these guys. So you just select this guy here, and then hold down V, and it'll snap to the nearest vert, which is this guy. So it's going to snap it right over the top of this joint. It basically takes it in Z and puts it the exact same distance that way, without screwing it up this direction. So it's not screwed up this way. All right. So now that they're lined up correctly, I can go ahead now and take them both and drop them on the upper twist and bang. And so now whenever I open this up, I have claw top, claw bottom. All right. If I grab this guy and rotate it, I can rotate this joint. Now my claws are moving, except that's a twist. It should be twisting like this. All right. And so that is how you do the claw. So now our upper part's done. So in the next video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and we're going to fix this connection here with the twist.